Let's welcome Alexander. Hey, Alexander.
Hello there. Can you guys hear me all right?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you
Yes,
all right.
Nice. Great. Yeah, let me share my screen. Yeah, as usual, Zoom tried to update at the last minute, so I'm from my browser, but hope everything works. Um, can you guys see the anything from my screen?
yes.
Yes,
After
yes.
Nice.
dust settle. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Hold on. I might have. Uh, yeah. Apologies. Just a second. Cool. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about today is yeah the story of the decentralized finance in 23, 24. As you all know, we have seen a bit of a slowdown on all of the DeFi primitives and everything that happens on the side that has to do with actual decentralized finance, right? So like all of the financial applications, all of the staking and tokens and all of it, and other cool stuff that we see. But I wanted to talk about why that is and why it's not actually a bad thing, but is potentially a good thing for the industry, and how we will get through this, and how Humanode fits into this big vision of the future. So first, a couple of additional words on who am I. Yeah, I think we'll skip this. But yeah, what I wanted to say about myself is that I'm being exposed to a lot of projects in the industry at a deep technical and economic level. And so I think I have a pretty decent overview of what's going on and what is hopefully happening and will happen. And with that, let's continue. So I think that there are maybe four stages to the general evolution of crypto adoption and crypto development. And I would like to talk briefly about each of the phases, uh, and then we'll talk about where we are. So phase one is about hope investment, right? Where everybody who you can see in the industry, in the space, are believers in some kind of a vision, although they're not really sure what that is, right? It's non-specific. There is some kind of thread that you want to hold on to, which is like, what if nobody controlled the monetary policy, right? What if we had some kind of currency that can be sent around without censorship, that cannot be diluted at will, and that just works there for anybody who wants to, right? But then how exactly does that fit into the world is not clear, and like what does the world look like in which this is a thing? That's unclear. So phase two, it's hope investment. The value that we see in the industry is just an index of hope. Essentially, there is not that much data to go around, and very fortunately, we're past that now. Right. Phase two is the magic internet money. This is the stage where we have seen, and like enough time has passed that the properties of this digital currency have been proven and illustrated. And now we can see that the technology actually works, and we can start to try and build cool actual applications out of this, right? And this is mostly the era from 2017 to maybe 2021, where numerous bubble-shaped attempts uh, have been there to try out projects and ideas and see what can work, what can, like, first of all, what can be built, right? Secondly, what can actually work once it's built, and thirdly, uh, does anybody aside from us care about that cool new thing that we're building? Um, and there uh, most of the projects actually didn't work out, right? For one of the, like, for reasons in one of the three levels. So either it doesn't make sense, or it doesn't work, or it actually does work, but there is limited interest and adoption. And this is the coolest one, which really contributes to the future phases. Then the phase three is about tools of the trade, right? It's the stage that I think we're in right now, early days of, where we as an industry are a little bit tired of all of the new project ideas in the space that try to go out into the world that much. Like let's revolutionize I don't know, metaverse by doing a bank in augmented reality on blockchain with AI, right? That sounded more interesting in 2017 than it does now because it has been tried and it doesn't work for many reasons. But then, since we already know that a lot of stuff doesn't work, the bubbles do not form that easy. So everybody who is still in the industry is building. They're building things that actually make sense and that actually help. And they're preparing the world for the big adoption of crypto at scale. So that is the phase preparatory to phase 4, which is everybody actually forgets about blockchains. No one knows what is a blockchain. You are making blockchain transactions without having any idea that that's what's going on. But it's there, and it lends you the value that has been seen at phase 1, right? It's still trustless. If you knew what was going on, you would be happy that you're actually owning all of the assets that are in this, and that you have full and complete ownership of everything that is going on. This is where I think we're headed. So on the way there, I think we have to do 4 things, essentially. Like four items have to be in place for us to reach this final phase where blockchains are unknown to anybody because they're everywhere. Number 1 is foundations, which is like the base layer and things on which the primitives are built. So blockchains by themselves, blockchains, bridges, oracles. We will get into this in a moment. The second one is primitive, so like the building blocks on which everybody leans on, but which by themselves do not mostly form like a separate product. Then the third one is applications, and that is what everybody actually works with. And the fourth one are all of the access points and interaction points through which everybody does crypto, or like rather does things that are built on crypto, even without knowing that. So the structure of the following 4 slides is as follows, right? At the top is the element, like what I think constitutes one of the important pillars of this specific phase, or this specific component, rather. The second one are the topics of what's I think is interesting or important in that space, in that pillar. The third one is the current state of where we are with this specifically, right? So the first bit is the fast and cheap blockchain transactions. This has been a huge issue a couple of times when the networks clogged up, or certain networks only worked on the business days. But that's mostly in the past now, I think. A lot of scaling has been done since 2016, 2017 through various means. That work is not finished, but the capacity of networks to process transactions now is far beyond what can actually be brought there to transact. And we have good momentum to continue on, and more things are being built as we speak with that. The second one is privacy and censorship resistance. Arguably one of the, if not the only important characteristics that the initial hope in Bitcoin was built on. So here, the story is a little bit more bleak because it's still unclear whether any really private solution can get adoption in the sense of regulation, right? Like if a privacy solution is being actively stopped by everybody, like by all of the business and official world, and while it still has a chance to have some adoption, it will not be there as a big topic. So this is something that is being resolved right now, I think. And one of the notable cases there is the Tornado Cash discussions, which got an update recently when I think the second guy was arrested in the States. But yeah, like technologically, right, we have a lot of tools that can be used to improve privacy without necessarily incentivizing any kind of shady or illegal activity. But I believe that there are other strong believers that privacy is a fundamental right. And while we might be trying to build some limited transparency into some limited scope of transactions, the privacy has to be there fundamentally. So let's see what that space will look like in a few years. Thirdly, and the third fundamental that has to be there is the collateral assets, which are interest-bearing and are not connected to the central government. So like, I'm thinking analog of like treasury bills or treasury bonds, right? Something that you can put a lot of capital in, which will make that capital work in the sense of having some kind of a cash flow. So it will be safe from the investment standpoint, but also which is a blockchain asset which can be used to things like collateralized loans, for instance, or collateralize any kind of contractual obligation. And here it's in a good state because a lot of advancements have gone in the past year, maybe. Yeah, almost exactly a year, right? And that is tokenizing the proof of stake game in proof of stake networks in a way that does not, due to both technical and cryptoeconomic incentives, lead to increased centralization. This has not been resolved completely, but it's getting there. Yeah, availability of these assets is growing, and if the industry keeps growing in itself, then the total capitalization of these assets will grow as well, which will provide a more stable and foundational layer for all of the financial activity on top of that. And finally, the fourth fundamental is oracles and trustless bridges, the space that arguably has not changed a whole lot in the past few years, although it has seen some great projects. But yeah, it looks to me like this is not solved yet conceptually. Hopefully, we will get there one day. Second pillar is primitives, and this is where all of the DeFi that we know and love sits in, right? So like all of the cool things like Uniswap that's here, and like Aave and Compound that's here, and things like Pocket Network and the Graph. So like node access, right? Sit, and this is because if we're trying to build anything on top of a blockchain and it's an actual application, right? So like it does not boil down to just money transfers or creating some new kind of asset that derives its main value from just being a cool new asset. Then all of these things will have to be there for that application to use, right? So like you always want to convert one currency into another, or you want to transact on multiple networks, and for that you might want access to liquidity on multiple networks, for instance. If we keep everything trustless and decentralized, then you do need node access and indexing in a way that is tamper-proof and non-censorable. And lastly, yeah, Sybil resistance and identity. And this is a big one, and Humanode actually sits there. And it's amazing that it does, because for a lot of actual applications, like social networks is one random example, and probably the biggest one, right? If you want to build any kind of incentive system, but even if you don't want to build an incentive system and you just want the product itself to work without numerous robot attacks, then you need Sybil resistance. And it would also be cool while we're at it if your simple resistance would come with a way to identify yourself in a certain manner without revealing too much information about yourself. And this is where decentralized identity solutions also come to play, and yeah, a chance for integrations of one with another. I think this is at a good place now conceptually. So like we have a decent vision of how it should work. What is left is to streamline and complete the implementations so that it can operate smoothly, and then it would be ready for mass adoption. Thirdly, applications, the products that people will actually see. And for the most part, in my experience, it's not there. So like a lot of applications have been built that have or try to do something with blockchains, aside from serving the blockchain industry itself. So like all kinds of wallets and interfaces for primitives. Nothing is there that is amazing and can serve large groups of people. But the attempts continue, and as the infrastructure from the previous slides goes more and more into place, the applications are further empowered to do something cool with all of the shiny tools that they have now. So one of the pillars is games, right? With games, I think the fundamental problem is that for a game, the only relevance of Web3 is to try and tokenize something, anything really, aside from very, very niche use cases like Dark Forest. And for tokenizing assets, it just does not seem economically viable at the moment, because while we know a couple of examples of good in-game markets, and the biggest one is probably the gun skins from CSGO, the one that trades for real money in a centralized location. It's not something that you can build a lot of. But again, as I say, attempts are continuously being made, and good things are coming out of them. Entertainment and social, I've seen a lot of projects, nothing really works, and nothing really beats the centralized alternatives, even remotely. That's because there are lots of fundamental limitations with regards to computational power and resources and algorithms. Because if you try to decentralize that, you actually stumble upon a lot of problems that like aren't solved yet, and it's not clear how they can be solved algorithmically. But hopefully, we will be seeing more and more attempts, at least, that try to go at this at the fundamental level, rather than to try and make a prototype that looks cool but cannot really work with groups of more than a couple of thousand people. The only one that I think does work is the financial vertical. And for one thing, stablecoins have been amazing during all of the shifts in how the world works in the last few years. But then maybe there's not that much stuff to build in the purely financial sector right now at this moment with the current level of adoption. Although again, some ideas exist there. And finally, the last pillar, and my time is almost up, is the access points, right? That includes on and off ramps, which are, I think, at a decent place maybe, but since all of the on ramps and off ramps have to go through the legacy financial system, it's not clear how much bigger it can get, and also how smooth can the experience be, especially on the off-ramp side. On the wallets, great things are happening right now and hopefully will be shipped in the next year or two, which are smart wallets, account abstractions, and so on and so forth. And that connects to gas and fee management, right? Because like ideally, again, in a world where the user does not know that he or she is making a blockchain transaction or interacting with a blockchain, you cannot have gas payments that the user has to manage. You cannot have manual management of keys that the user has to deal with and understand. This all has to fade into the background, which is a access problem. And there are ways, hopefully, to do this in a decentralized and trustless manner. And we just have to complete those. And that's about it, right? In closing, I want to say that, yeah, for several beautiful years, you could send money anywhere or most of places and not really know how that works or why that works or what steps your money goes through. This has completely fallen apart since like maybe 2020, I want to say increasingly, right? And more so in 2022 and now. We have to go back to that. It would be really cool to go back to that. And blockchains are a natural way to go back to that. There are some challenges that we have to solve to arrive to the place where the blockchains fade into the background. And I think the spirit of DeFi right now lies with all of these consensus level derivatives and rearranging and building up this part of the ecosystem very well, so you can put the existing primitives on top of that, and then together with the access points from a previous slide, that would be the whole package that you need to build amazing applications. So let's go build something, guys.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. And yeah, I am inviting everybody here that are watching us in the audience to type out your questions if you have any. And oh, there's actually a question. So what about Drizzle?
Right.
More about Drizzle, please.
Yeah, thank you. That was a bit of an off topic, but yes, thanks so much for this question. So what I want to say about Drizzle is as follows. This comes actually from a vision of one of my friends that he had many years ago, which went as follows. Wouldn't it be cool if you could support someone like financially, like a favorite artist or a charity or an organization, something with some money without actually spending it, right? Like I'm depositing $1,000. I can take that $1,000 back, but it accumulates interest, and it's the interest that I'm donating. So that is Drizzle. We're building that. We will launch the prototype application in the next few days, and you guys are very welcome to check it out and drop us a note. And thanks again for the question.
How can we check out the website?
Yeah, drizzle.finance.
Oh, drizzle.finance. Okay.
It doesn't work right now, but it will work tomorrow.
Okay. You're looking forward to that. Do we have any other question? If we do not have any question, I actually have one question for you, Alexander. So in the beginning of the presentation, you said that there are 4 phases, right? And we are currently in the 3rd phase of the overall phases. Yes, this is what I'm referring to. And so out of curiosity, as a person who is, well, I do work in crypto, but then also a regular user, like, well, how long do you think with the current developments and the current state of people looking at the Web3 technology and so on, how long do you think will we get into the fourth phase?
Yeah, I think this is the main question that one who works in crypto has to answer all of the time, right? When
Yeah.
adoption, when do we get there? Right, I have to now abide by my own framework, right? And by that vision, the limiting factor has been a couple of missing pieces from the four infrastructural levels, right? And in terms of that, I think we should be there in 2025 at the latest, because all of the what has been missing is the most is the consensus derivatives on one hand, smart wallets and account abstractions, and saving the user from key management on the other hand, and thirdly, gas payments, and eliminating that bit of the complexity. And when I say that the things are being built right now, I don't mean this in the abstract sense, right? I know specific projects and specific Ethereum improvement proposals that will drive the rest of the industry that are currently in the late discussion phase for the proposals, and in the late implementation phase for the actual products. So it should be there. Let's give them, I don't know, 10, 12 months to complete and launch and attract their second cohorts of users. And then applications will be able to actually just plug that in and launch into space.
Thank you.